I was nothing, the lowest of the low, an Omega servant invisible to those who mattered, until the moment I threw myself between a crying child and a cruel hand raised to strike. In that single heartbeat, the Alpha King's eyes found mine across the altar, and he spoke 3 words that shattered every rule our world was built upon: she is mine. My name is Alara Grey, and this is the story of how compassion became rebellion, how weakness became strength, and how an Omega rose to become Luna Queen, not through bloodlines or politics, but through a single act of defiance that changed everything. Chapter 1: The Altar. The mating ceremony of Alpha King Theron Blackwater is the most anticipated event in a century. Every high-born female in the territory has been paraded before him for months, each more beautiful and politically connected than the last. The Cathedral of the First Moon is packed with nobility dressed in silks and jewels, their scents mingling into a suffocating perfume of ambition and desperation. I shouldn't be here. Omegas aren't permitted at royal ceremonies except to serve, and even then we're meant to be invisible, shadows that refill wine glasses and clear plates without drawing attention. But the High Priestess demanded extra hands for the ceremony, and so here I am, pressed against the cold stone wall in my plain grey servant's dress, trying to disappear while the spectacle unfolds before me. The king stands at the altar in ceremonial black, his presence commanding even in stillness. Theron Blackwater is legendary, 6.5 feet of controlled power, with dark hair that falls to his shoulders and eyes the color of winter storms. Scars mark his jaw and his hands, evidence of the battles he's fought to keep his territory safe. At 32, he's ruled for a decade with an iron fist wrapped in calculated diplomacy. He's also utterly alone. I've heard the whispers from other servants. How he's rejected every candidate. How his council grows more desperate with each passing month. An Alpha King needs a Luna, not just for heirs, but for balance, for the pack's stability. Without a mate, the pack grows restless, unstable. But Theron won't settle for political convenience. Even I can see it in the way he stands rigid at the altar, his jaw tight with barely concealed frustration as another candidate is presented. Lady Vivian Ashford, daughter of the Eastern Territory Lord, stunning in crimson silk and dripping with rubies. She kneels before him with practiced grace, offering her wrist for the traditional scenting. Theron leans down, inhales once, and straightens without touching her. No, he says simply. Vivian's mask cracks. Your Majesty, I don't understand. I said no. His voice carries through the cathedral, final as a coffin nail. Next. Vivian rises with barely controlled rage, her humiliation palpable. As she descends from the altar, she passes a small boy, maybe 5 years old, who stands too close to the aisle in his curiosity. The child is Lord Ashford's youngest son, brought to witness his sister's triumph. Instead, he's watching her failure, his eyes wide with confusion. Vivian's hand lashes out, striking the boy across the face with a crack that echoes through the stunned silence. Stupid child. Don't stare. The boy stumbles, falling toward the stone steps, a cry of pain and shock escaping his small throat. I don't think. Don't consider the consequences. I just move. My body collides with the child's, catching him before his head hits the sharp edge of the altar steps. We tumble together, and I twist so I take the impact, cradling his trembling form against my chest as we hit the ground. Pain explodes through my shoulder, my hip. But the boy is safe, sobbing into my dress, his small hands fisting in the fabric. Shoo, I whisper, rocking him gently. You're all right. I've got you. You're safe. Silence falls over the cathedral, absolute, suffocating silence. I look up through the fall of my dark hair and freeze. Every eye in the room is fixed on me. Nobles stare in shock and outrage. An Omega touching a high-born child without permission. An Omega disrupting a royal ceremony. An Omega existing loudly in a space where we're meant to be invisible. But worst of all, or perhaps best, are the storm-gray eyes of the Alpha King, fixed on me with an intensity that steals the breath from my lungs. Theron Blackwater stares at me like he's seeing the sun for the first time. Release my son this instant, Lord Ashford snarls, storming toward me. How dare you put your filthy Omega hands on him? Stop. One word from the king, crackling with alpha command that drops every wolf in the room to their knees, everyone except me, because I'm already on the ground, still cradling the crying child. Theron descends from the altar with predatory grace, each step deliberate, his eyes never leaving mine. The mate bond, which I'd heard of but never expected to feel, suddenly slams into place like a hook through my heart, golden and blazing and utterly undeniable. No. No, this isn't possible. The Alpha King can't be my fated mate. Fate wouldn't be so cruel, or so kind. But his wolf knows. I see the recognition in his eyes, the way his nostrils flare as he catches my scent, lavender and rain, probably mixed with fierce sweat now, and something shifts in his expression. Wonder. Possession. Certainty. He kneels before me, the Alpha King kneels, and gently touches the boy's shoulder. Let the lady tend your wounds, young one. She saved you. She's a hero. The boy sniffles, pulling back to look at me with teary eyes. Thank you, he whispers. You're welcome, brave heart. I smooth his dark hair, checking him for injuries. Just a red mark on his cheek where his own sister struck him. The casual cruelty of it makes my blood boil. Theron's hand covers mine where it rests on the boy's head. His touch sends lightning through my veins, the mate bond singing with recognition and completion. What's your name? His voice is rough, intimate, meant only for me despite the audience of hundreds. Elara Grey, Your Majesty. I try to lower my eyes respectfully, but he catches my chin with gentle fingers, tilting my face up. Elara, he repeats, tasting my name like wine. Then louder, addressing the cathedral, this woman showed more courage, more compassion, and more honor in 10 seconds than anyone in this room has shown in 10 years. Shocked murmurs ripple through the crowd. Theron rises, pulling me to my feet with him, his hand still holding mine. The boy clings to my dress, and I keep one arm around his shoulders protectively. I've been searching for my Luna, Theron announces, his voice carrying through the cathedral with absolute authority. The seers told me I would know her when I saw true strength. Not political power. Not bloodline. Not beauty or status. True strength, the kind that acts without thinking when someone needs protection. The kind that puts others before self, even at great personal cost. He turns to face me fully, and in his eyes I see my entire future unfurling, terrifying and glorious. Elara Grey, he says, loud enough for every soul present to hear, by the law of the mate bond and the authority of my crown, I name you my Luna. My queen. My mate. Mine. The cathedral erupts in chaos. Nobles shout in outrage. Lady Vivian shrieks about bloodlines and propriety. The council members push forward, demanding the king reconsider this madness. But Theron simply pulls me against his chest, one arm wrapping around my waist like an iron band, his other hand cupping the back of my head. The gesture is protective, possessive, unmistakable. Anyone who has a problem with my choice, he growls, his alpha power rolling through the room like thunder, can challenge me for the right to rule. Otherwise, you will bow to your queen. One by one, despite their shock and fury, they kneel. Because no one is strong enough or stupid enough to challenge Theron Blackwater. I stand in the circle of the Alpha King's arms, holding a crying child, wearing a servant's grey dress, and watch the nobility of the realm bow before me. This is how my nightmare begins. Or perhaps, though I don't know it yet, this is how my fairy tale starts. Chapter 2, The Luna's Burden. The king's private chambers are more fortress than home. Thick stone walls covered in war maps and weapons, sparse furniture built for function rather than comfort, windows that overlook the entire territory like a general surveying his troops. I sit perched on the edge of a leather chair, still wearing my servant's dress, while Theron paces like a caged wolf before the fireplace. The young boy, Thomas, I learned, was returned to his father with a stern warning about watching whom he allows near his children. Lady Vivian has been banished from court permanently. You didn't have to do that, I say quietly. Banish her, I mean. Theron stops pacing, turning those storm-grey eyes on me. She struck a child. Then she nearly let him be seriously injured because she was too consumed with her own humiliation to check if he was all right. She's lucky banishment is all she got. I recognize the rage simmering beneath his controlled surface. This is a male who values honor, who cannot tolerate cruelty to those weaker. It's part of what makes him a good king, and part of what just appended his entire court by choosing an Omega as his mate. Your council will never accept me, I say, voicing the fear that's been building since the ceremony. I'm nobody. Worse than nobody, I'm an Omega. We're at the bottom of the hierarchy for a reason. And what reason is that? He moves closer, crouching before my chair so we're eye level. Tell me, Elara. Why does everyone believe omegas are lesser? I've asked myself this question my entire life. Because we're smaller. Weaker. We can't shift into full wolf form. We don't have the alpha's command or the beta's strategic mind. We're just less. You threw yourself in front of a falling child without hesitation, knowing you'd be hurt, knowing you'd face punishment. His hand covers mine where it rests on the chair arm. That's not weakness. That's the kind of courage most of my warriors will never possess. Courage doesn't change biology. No. But it changes everything else. He stands, pulling me up with him, close enough that I have to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. I've ruled for 10 years, Ilara. I've won wars, negotiated treaties, survived 3 assassination attempts. And in all that time, do you know what I've learned? I shake my head, mesmerized by the intensity in his gaze. Power means nothing without compassion. Strength means nothing without honor. I can command armies, but what good is that if I use my power to crush the weak instead of protect them? His thumb traces my cheekbone with aching gentleness. You're not less because you're an omega. You're exactly what this pack needs. What I need. The mate bond thrums between us, urging me closer, deeper. But fear holds me back. They'll destroy me, I whisper. The court, the nobility, they'll see me as a threat to their power. An omega who rose above her station. They'll never stop trying to tear me down. Let them try. His voice drops to a growl. Anyone who touches you will learn exactly how protective an alpha can be of his mate. Before I can respond, a sharp knock interrupts us. A tall woman with silver-streaked black hair enters without waiting for permission, the kind of confidence that comes from decades of authority. Your Majesty, she says, her tone respectful but strained. The council demands an emergency session. Let them demand. Theron doesn't look away from me. Tell them I'll address their concerns in the morning. Sire, this cannot wait. You've just named an omega as Luna Queen. Every noble family in the territory is threatening to withdraw their support. The council believes this could trigger a civil war. The words hit like a physical blow. Civil war. Because of me. I pull away from Theron, my heart racing. You have to reconsider. I won't. I can't be the reason your kingdom tears itself apart. You're not the reason, Theron says sharply. Their prejudice is the reason. Their obsession with outdated hierarchy is the reason. But practically, if we give in to their threats now, we show weakness. We prove that the nobility can manipulate the crown through tantrums and ultimatums. He turns to the woman. Tell the council I will meet with them at dawn. Until then, they can occupy themselves with accepting reality. The woman, who must be his head counselor, nods curtly and withdraws, but not before shooting me a look that's equal parts assessment and warning. When we're alone again, the weight of everything crashes down on me. Just this morning, I was a servant. Now I'm standing in the Alpha King's private chambers, wearing a mate bond one don't understand, carrying the title of queen. I don't know how to be a Luna, I admit, my voice breaking. I don't know politics or strategy or how to navigate court intrigue. I can barely read, Theron. Omegas aren't educated beyond basic service duties. How am I supposed to rule beside you when I don't even know how? He crosses to me in 3 strides, cupping my face in both hands. You'll learn. I'll teach you. My counselors will teach you. And while you're learning, you'll teach them something far more valuable, what it means to lead with heart instead of just head. And if I fail? If I prove them right about omegas? You won't. The certainty in his voice is absolute. But even if you stumble, even if you make mistakes, you'll still be my Luna. My mate. My choice. Nothing changes that. Tears burn my eyes, relief and terror mixing until I can't tell them apart. Why me? You could have chosen anyone. Someone who'd make your life easier instead of harder. His smile is soft, almost vulnerable. Because the moment I saw you shield that boy, I realized I'd been searching my whole life for someone who'd shield others without thought of self. Someone whose first instinct is protection, not politics. He leans down, resting his forehead against mine. Because my wolf recognized his mate in that instant, and nothing, not crowns, not councils, not kingdoms, matters more than that. The mate bond flares golden between us, warm and right and terrifying in its intensity. I'm scared, I whisper. Good, he murmurs against my temple. Fear will keep you sharp. Just don't let it stop you from becoming who you're meant to be. A soft knock interrupts the moment, gentler this time. A kind-faced woman in servant's attire peeks in. Your Majesty, I'm here to escort the Luna to her chambers. Her chambers. Because of course I can't stay here, not unchaperoned, not before the formal mating ceremony makes our bond official. Theron's arms tighten around me for a moment before he releases me with obvious reluctance. Maya will take care of you. She's head of the household staff and one of the few people in this castle I trust completely. Maya offers a genuine smile. Come, my lady. Let's get you settled. I follow her into the corridor, glancing back once to find Theron watching me with an expression that makes my heart stutter, possessive and protective and full of promises. Maya leads me through winding hallways to a suite of rooms that are larger than the entire servants' quarters where I've lived for the past 3 years. Rich tapestries cover the walls, a massive 4-poster bed dominates the bedroom, and windows overlook gardens bathed in moonlight. These are the Luna's traditional chambers, Maya explains, lighting candles with practiced efficiency. They haven't been occupied in 30 years, not since the king's mother passed. I don't belong here, I say, the words escaping before I can stop them. Maya pauses, studying me with sharp but not unkind eyes. I've served this household for 40 years, child. I watched Theron grow from a boy into a king. And I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looked at you tonight. But. No buts. The mate bond doesn't lie. The king's wolf chose you, and that's all that matters. She pulls out a nightgown of soft silk, finer than anything I've ever touched. The nobility will scheme and rage and try to tear you down. Let them. You're not here to please them. You're here to be the king's balance, his conscience, his heart. I sink onto the edge of the bed, overwhelmed. How do I even start? By surviving tomorrow. Maya's tone gentles. The council meeting will be brutal. They'll attack everything about you, your rank, your education, your right to stand beside the king. But remember, you've already won the only battle that matters. Theron chose you. Nothing they say can change that. After Maya leaves, I lie awake in the enormous bed, staring at the canopy overhead, trying to process how my entire life changed in the span of a few hours. Somewhere in this castle, nobles are plotting my downfall. Somewhere, Theron is fighting his council to keep me. And here I am, Elara Grey Omega servant nobody, now wearing the title of Luna Queen and a mate bond that burns like a brand over my heart. As our story deepens, I invite you to stay with us, to walk this treacherous path by subscribing and following our journey through power and politics, through love and loyalty, ensuring you don't miss a single twist in the tale of how an Omega became queen. Tomorrow, the real battle begins. Tonight, I let myself feel the impossible hope that maybe, just maybe, I'm stronger than I've ever believed. Chapter 3, The Council's Judgment. Dawn breaks cold and grey over the castle. I'm awakened by a team of handmaidens who descend on me like a tactical unit, bathing me in scented water, dressing me in a gown of deep emerald silk that marks me as Luna, weaving my long dark hair into an intricate crown of braids. When they finally step back, I barely recognize my reflection. The woman in the mirror looks regal, powerful, nothing like the servant girl who scrubbed floors yesterday. But beneath the finery, I'm still just Elara. Terrified and out of my depth. Maya appears with a tray of food. Eat, she commands. You'll need your strength. I can't. My stomach is tied in knots, I know. Eat anyway. She sits beside me, her presence calming. The king requested you arrive at the council chamber at precisely 9. He wants to make an entrance together. Together. The word settles some of my anxiety. I won't face them alone. At 5 minutes to 9, Maya leads me through the castle to a pair of massive oak doors guarded by 2 warriors in formal armor. They eye me with expressions I can't read, skepticism, maybe, or curiosity. The doors swing open, revealing Theron waiting just inside. He's dressed in full royal regalia, black leather and silver wolf emblems, a crown of twisted iron sitting on his dark hair, a cloak of midnight fur flowing from his shoulders. He looks every inch the warrior king. When his eyes land on me, something fierce and possessive flares in their storm-gray depths. He crosses to me in 3 strides, taking my hand and bringing it to his lips. My queen, he murmurs, and even knowing it's strategic, showing the council we're a united front, my traitorous heart flutters. Are you ready? He asks, low enough only I can hear. No. But I'll do it anyway. His smile is quick and genuine. That's my girl. He tucks my hand into the crook of his elbow, and together we enter the council chamber. The room is circular, with a high domed ceiling and windows that let in cold morning light. 12 council members sit at a curved table, the most powerful wolves in the territory, each representing a different region or interest. At the head of the table sits an empty throne, the king's seat. But Theron doesn't head for his throne. Instead, he leads me to a second chair that's been placed beside it, smaller, but unmistakably equal in positioning. The Luna's throne. Empty for 3 decades. Now mine. I sit carefully, spine straight, hands folded in my lap, trying to project confidence I don't feel. Theron takes his seat, his presence radiating controlled power. An elderly man with gray hair and cold blue eyes speaks first, Chancellor Aldrich, head of the council. Your Majesty, this emergency session has been called to address your unprecedented decision yesterday. You mean my choice of mate, Theron says flatly. Say it clearly, Chancellor. Aldrich's jaw tightens. Very well. Your choice to name an Omega as Luna Queen has created a constitutional crisis. The nobility is in uproar. 3 houses have already threatened to withdraw their sworn oaths. We face potential rebellion unless you reconsider. I will not reconsider. Sire, you must understand, an Omega has never held any position of authority, let alone the highest position in the realm. There are laws, precedents, which I, as king, have the authority to change. Theron's voice is silk over steel. Or do you question my right to rule as I see fit? Of course not, Your Majesty. But tradition exists for a reason. The hierarchy maintains order. Allowing an Omega to rise above her station could destabilize the entire social structure. A woman with sharp features and calculating eyes leans forward, Lady Morgana, representative of the Northern Territories. Beyond tradition, there are practical concerns. Luna Queens lead in the king's absence, command respect from visiting dignitaries, oversee complex political negotiations. These duties require education, training, and frankly, the natural authority that comes from alpha or beta blood. An Omega lacks all of these qualifications. Each word is a knife, precise and cutting. But before I can crumble under the weight of their judgment, Theron's hand covers mine on the armrest, a public display of solidarity. You're right that my mate lacks traditional training, Theron says evenly. Which is why she'll receive intensive education in politics, diplomacy, and governance. I've already arranged for the finest tutors. Education takes years. Then we have years. In the meantime, Ilara will learn by doing, advised by myself and trusted counselors. His eyes sweep the table. Unless you're all too prejudiced to help your queen become the leader she's meant to be? Silence. No one wants to openly admit their bias. A middle-aged man with kind eyes, Lord Caius, the only counselor who's looked at me without contempt, clears his throat. Your Majesty, perhaps we're approaching this from the wrong angle. Instead of arguing about what the Luna lacks, we should focus on what she brings to the role. And what would that be? Lady Morgana asks icily. Compassion, Caius says simply. Courage. The ability to act selflessly in moments of crisis. I was present at the ceremony. I saw her protect that child without hesitation, knowing she'd face punishment. That's the kind of Luna our pack needs, someone who leads with heart. Heart doesn't win wars or negotiate treaties, Aldrich snaps. No, Theron agrees. But it inspires loyalty. It builds trust. It creates the kind of pack where members willingly fight for each other instead of being forced into service through fear. He stands, his alpha presence filling the room. For 10 years, I've ruled with strategy and strength. And our territory has grown powerful. But it's also grown cold. Distant. Our people respect me, but they don't love me. Ilara will change that. Or she'll make us look weak, Morgana counters. Every rival pack, every enemy at our borders will see an Omega Luna as a sign of desperation or foolishness. Let them think that, Theron growls. Let them underestimate us. will be that much more dangerous when they realize their mistake. The argument continues, circling endlessly. Some counselors seem genuinely concerned about logistics, how to train me, how to present me to other territories. Others barely hide their disdain, seeing me as an upstart who needs to be put in her place. Through it all, I sit silent, listening, learning. This is my future, navigating these political waters, earning respect from those who view me as beneath contempt. Finally, Theron cuts through the debate with a raised hand. Enough. I've heard your concerns, and I acknowledge them. But my decision stands. Elara Grey is my mate, my Luna, and your queen. You will treat her with the respect her position demands, or you will find yourselves replaced. The threat hangs heavy in the air. However, Theron continues, his tone gentling slightly, I understand this is an adjustment. Therefore, I propose a trial period. 3 months. During this time, Elara will undergo intensive training while also taking on selected Luna duties. At the end of 3 months, we'll reconvene and assess her progress. It's a compromise, one that clearly costs him to offer. But it's also strategic, giving the council a face-saving way to accept what they cannot change. Aldrich exchanges glances with the other counselors, then nods slowly. 3 months. But if she proves unable to fulfill her duties? She won't, Theron says with absolute certainty. But if you need a timeline to make peace with reality, so be it. The meeting concludes shortly after, counselors filing out with varying degrees of grudging acceptance or barely concealed hostility. Only Lord Caius approaches before leaving, offering me a respectful bow. Luna Queen, he says warmly. I look forward to seeing you prove them all wrong. Thank you, Lord Caius. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. I appreciate your kindness. After he leaves, I slump in the throne, exhaustion crashing over me. That was worse than I imagined. That was them testing you, Theron corrects, pulling me to my feet and into his arms. Seeing if you'd break, run, or fight back. You did none of those. You sat strong and silent, observing, learning. That impressed them more than you know. I was terrified. I know. But you didn't let it show. He tilts my chin up. You're going to survive this, Elara. More than survive, you're going to thrive. I'll make sure of it. His confidence bolsters me, but deep down, the doubts still whisper. Can an Omega really become a Luna Queen? I guess I have 3 months to find out. Chapter 4, Lessons in Power. The next weeks blur into a relentless schedule of lessons, duties, and social navigations that leave me exhausted every night. Mornings begin at dawn with Lady Cordelia, a stern etiquette instructor who seems determined to beat proper deportment into me through sheer force of will. I learn how to walk like royalty, how to hold a conversation without revealing ignorance, how to read the subtle power plays in every social interaction. Afternoons are spent with Scholar Marcus, an elderly beta who teaches me reading, writing, history, and politics. My education is painfully lacking. Omegas learn only what's necessary for service, but Marcus is patient, building my knowledge piece by piece. Evenings belong to Theron. We dine together in his private chambers, and he tutors me in the practical realities of governance, how to assess threats, make strategic decisions, balance justice with mercy. These lessons often blur into something more intimate as the mate bond pulls us together with magnetic force. We haven't completed the mating bond yet, haven't consummated our relationship. Theron insists on waiting until I'm ready, until I choose him freely rather than from obligation or political necessity. His restraint only makes me want him more. But beyond lessons, I'm also required to attend court functions, and that's where the real danger lies. The nobility has divided into 3 camps, those who openly disdain me, those who watch with calculated neutrality, and a very small group who seem genuinely supportive. I navigate this social minefield with Lady Cordelia's warnings echoing in my head. Trust no one. Every smile could hide a knife. Every conversation is a test. The worst is Lady Seraphine Blackwood, a beta who is apparently the council's preferred candidate for Luna. She's beautiful, educated, politically connected, everything I'm not. And she despises me with elegant, barely concealed venom. At my 3rd formal dinner, she strikes. The meal is a lavish affair hosted by one of the noble houses, designed to welcome the new Luna to court society. I sit beside Theron at the head table, hyper-aware of every movement, every word, trying to remember all of Lady Cordelia's instructions. Seraphine sits at Theron's other side, a deliberate insult to me, placing a rival in the position of honor. But Theron seems unbothered, dividing his attention equally, his hand occasionally finding mine under the table in silent support. Midway through the dinner, Seraphine turns to me with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "Tell me, Lunar Alara, what are your thoughts on the trade negotiations with the Eastern Territories? I understand they've been quite complex." "It's a trap." She knows I know nothing about the negotiations, they weren't covered in my lessons yet. She's trying to expose my ignorance in front of everyone. I could panic. Could admit I don't know. Could let her humiliate me. Instead, I meet her gaze steadily and say, "I'm still being briefed on the details. But I'd be interested in your perspective, Lady Seraphine. You've observed these negotiations for years. What's your assessment?" I've flipped the trap back on her. Now she either has to provide genuine insight, essentially doing my homework for me, or admit she doesn't actually know either, despite her claims of superiority. Her smile freezes. Well, they're complex, as I said. Then perhaps we could discuss them another time, when we've both had a chance to review the most recent developments. I turn my attention back to my meal, dismissing her politely but firmly. Beside me, I feel Theron's approval radiating through the mate bond. But Seraphine isn't finished. She waits until dessert is served, then raises her wine glass. "A toast," she announces, her voice carrying through the dining hall. "To our new Luna Queen, may she grow into a role that, let's be honest, no one expected her to fill." The words sound complimentary, but the subtext is clear: you don't belong here. You never will. The room holds its breath, waiting to see how I'll respond. I stand slowly, raising my own glass, channeling every lesson Lady Cordelia drilled into me about grace under pressure. "Thank you, Lady Seraphine. You're right, no one expected this. Including me." But then, the greatest strength often comes from unexpected places. From those who've had to fight for every inch of respect rather than having it handed to them by birth. I pause, letting that sink in, a subtle reminder that my position was earned through action, not aristocratic lineage. I look forward to proving that leadership isn't about bloodlines or status. It's about character, courage, and the willingness to put your pack before yourself. Lessons I learned as an Omega, and lessons I'll bring to my role as Luna. I raise my glass higher. To unexpected strength. To earned respect. And to a future where we judge each other by our actions rather than our titles. The room erupts in applause, genuine from some, reluctant from others, but applause nonetheless. Seraphine's face has gone white with fury. She's been outmaneuvered at her own game. When I sit, Theron's hand finds mine under the table, squeezing with pride and something deeper. Through the bond, I feel his fierce satisfaction, his protective pride in his mate. "Well played, my queen," he sends through our link. The rest of the dinner passes without incident, but I know I've made an enemy. Seraphine won't forget this humiliation. Later that night, back in Theron's chambers for our evening lesson, he pulls me into his arms the moment the door closes. "You were magnificent tonight," he murmurs against my hair. "You handled Seraphine perfectly, turned her attack into your own triumph. I made her hate me more. She already hated you. Now she also fears you. That's progress." He pulls back to look at me, his hands framing my face. "You're learning, Ilara. Not just politics and etiquette, but how to wield your own unique power." "What power?" "I'm still just an Omega playing dress-up in a Luna's clothes." "No." His voice is fierce. "You're a woman who had the courage to defy every social rule to protect a child. You're my mate, my equal, whether you believe it yet or not. And you're starting to understand that true power doesn't come from rank, it comes from knowing who you are and refusing to apologize for it." His words settle into my chest, taking root. Maybe he's right. Maybe I've been so focused on what I lack that I haven't recognized what I possess. "Kiss me," I whisper, surprising us both. His eyes darken with hunger. "Ilara." "I'm choosing you, Theron. Not because of the bond, not because of politics. Because you see me, the real me, and think I'm worth fighting for. So kiss me." He doesn't need to be told twice. His mouth crashes down on mine with barely restrained passion, and I open for him, letting the kiss deepen, letting the mate bond flare golden and hot between us. His hands tangle in my hair, ruining the careful braids, and I don't care. I press closer, wanting more, needing. A sharp knock interrupts us. Theron pulls back with a frustrated growl. This had better be important. Maya enters, her face pale. Your Majesty, forgive the intrusion, but there's been an incident. Ice floods my veins. What kind of incident? The young boy, Thomas Ashford. He's gone missing from his family's estate. And there's evidence of a struggle. Chapter 5, The Abduction. The Ashford estate is in chaos when we arrive. Guards search the grounds with torches, their wolves' howls echoing through the night. Lord Ashford stands in the courtyard, his face haggard with fear. Your Majesty, he gasps when he sees Theron. My son, someone took him through his bedroom window. We found signs of forced entry, and this, he hands over a scrap of fabric, black and unmarked. Theron examines it, his expression darkening. Rogues. But why take the boy? I ask, though dread is already forming in my gut. What do they want? Leverage. Theron's jaw clenches. The boy is the son of a noble house. He's valuable. But I see something else in his eyes, something he's not saying. This isn't random. Rogues don't typically target noble children. The risk is too high for minimal reward. Unless someone hired them to do it. We'll find him, Theron promises Lord Ashford. I'll mobilize every tracker. I'm coming with you, I interrupt. Theron turns to me, clearly about to refuse, but something in my expression stops him. Elara, this will be dangerous. That boy was taken because of me. The certainty settles like stone in my stomach. Someone wants to hurt you by hurting people I've shown care for. Thomas is missing because I protected him at the altar. I won't hide in the castle while he's in danger. She's right, Maya says quietly from behind us. This has Luna Seraphine's signature all over it. Abducting the boy sends a message, anyone the new Luna cares about is a target. Fury blazes across Theron's face. If Seraphine is behind this, then we need proof, I say firmly. And we need to find Thomas before. I can't finish the sentence. Can't voice the horrific possibilities. Theron studies me for a long moment, then nods sharply. You come. But you stay close to me. If there's danger. I know. You'll protect me. But Theron. I step closer, lowering my voice. I'm not as helpless as everyone thinks. Omegas survive by being invisible, by reading danger before it strikes. Let me help. He cups my face briefly. My fierce Luna. Always surprising me. Within the hour, we've assembled a tracking party, Theron's best warriors, including Lyra, his head guard, and Lord Caius, who insisted on joining the search. I'm given practical clothes, leather pants and a tunic, and a small blade that I pray I won't need to use. The trail leads into the darkwood forest, an ancient expanse of trees where the canopy blocks out moonlight and the shadows seem alive. The trackers follow the scent trail with practiced efficiency, their wolf senses far sharper than my own limited abilities. We travel for hours in tense silence, every snap of a twig making me jump. Theron stays close, his presence both comforting and distracting. The mate bond hums between us, stronger in this dangerous situation, urging us to touch, to reassure. Finally, the lead tracker signals a stop. Fresh camp ahead, he whispers. Multiple rogues. And I smell the boy, alive. Relief nearly buckles my knees. Thomas is alive. How many rogues? Theron asks. 6, maybe 7. They're not expecting company. Theron's smile is predatory. Good. We'll split into 2 groups, come at them from opposite sides. Caius, take 3 warriors and circle west. I'll approach from the east. What about me? I ask. You stay with Lyra, protected. No. The word comes out firmer than I intended. I'm coming with you. Thomas knows me. If he's scared, seeing my face might keep him calm. Absolutely not. Theron. I grip his arm. You said I was your equal. Prove it. Let me be part of this rescue, not just a liability to protect. The conflict on his face is clear, his instinct to keep me safe warring with his respect for my autonomy. Finally, he nods tersely. You stay behind me. If fighting starts, you get Thomas and run. Understood. Understood. We move through the forest like ghosts, decades of warrior training evident in every silent step. I try to match their stealth, my heart hammering so loud I'm certain the rogues will hear it. Then we see them, 7 wolves in human form, lounging around a fire. And tied to a tree, sobbing quietly, is Thomas. Rage floods through me, hot and righteous. That little boy, already traumatized by his sister's cruelty, now stolen from his bed and bound like an animal. Theron signals the attack. His warriors explode from the shadows with devastating efficiency. The rogues barely have time to react before they're engaged in brutal combat, tooth and claw and savage strength. I dart toward Thomas while the rogues are distracted. His eyes widen when he sees me. Lady Elara. Shoo, brave heart. I've got you. I work at his bonds with shaking fingers, the rope finally giving way. Thomas throws himself into my arms, sobbing, and I hold him tight. You're safe now. You're. A hand fists in my hair, yanking me backward with brutal force. Thomas tumbles from my arms as I'm hauled up against a massive chest, cold steel pressing against my throat. Well, a rough voice growls in my ear. The Omega Queen herself. This just became much more profitable. The fighting stops abruptly. Every eye turns to where I'm being held hostage by an enormous rogue with scars crisscrossing his face and murder in his eyes. Theron goes absolutely still, but I can see the fury building in him, the alpha surfacing, primal and deadly. Release her. Now. Or what? The rogue laughs. You'll kill me? I'm dead anyway once Seraphine realizes I failed to deliver the boy. But if I bring her your precious Luna's corpse? That might earn me a reward. So Maya was right. Seraphine orchestrated this. You're working for Lady Seraphine, I managed to say, despite the blade at my throat. She paid you to take Thomas. Smart girl. She wanted to prove you couldn't protect those you care about. Make you look weak. But this, he presses the knife harder, making me gasp. This is better. The king's mate, killed by rogues. The whole pack will see how he can't even keep his own Luna safe. Touch her, Theron snarls, his voice dropping into the alpha command that makes every wolf present, even the rogues flinch, and I will tear you apart so slowly you'll beg for death. The rogue actually hesitates. But then his grip tightens. Big words. But I'm faster than you, King. I can slit her throat before. I don't let him finish. Lady Cordelia's lessons included self-defense, techniques for weaker wolves to escape stronger opponents. I drop my full weight suddenly, slipping down through his grip, and drive my elbow backward into his groin with everything I have. He howls, the knife falling away. I roll free, grabbing Thomas and scrambling backward. Theron is on the rogue before he can recover. There's no fight, just pure brutal execution. The Alpha King's fury unleashed on the male who dared threaten his mate. It's over in seconds. The other rogues, seeing their leader dead, surrender immediately. Theron's warriors bind them efficiently while Theron strides toward me, his eyes wild with the aftermath of violence and fear. You're bleeding, he says roughly, touching my neck where the blade nicked skin. I'm fine, Thomas. I look down at the boy clinging to my tunic. Are you hurt, brave heart? He shakes his head, sniffling. I want to go home. We'll take you home, I promise. You're safe now. Theron pulls us both into his arms, his body trembling with the need to hold us, to confirm we're whole. Through the bond, I feel his terror bleeding into relief, his absolute fury at how close he came to losing me. Don't ever, he breathes against my hair, don't ever put yourself in danger like that again. I helped save Thomas. We got what we came for. You could have died. But I didn't. I pull back to meet his wild eyes. Because I'm stronger than you think. Stronger than I thought. His kiss is desperate, claiming, a promise and a plea all at once. When he releases me, his forehead rests against mine. You terrify me, Elara Grey. Good, I whisper, echoing his words from weeks ago. Fear will keep you sharp. Despite everything, he laughs. Chapter 6, The Confrontation. By the time we return to the castle with Thomas safely delivered to his grateful father, dawn is breaking. But there's no rest coming, not yet. Because we have proof of Lady Seraphine's treachery, and justice must be swift. Theron calls an emergency council session. This time, I don't sit silently. I stand beside him as he lays out the evidence, the rogue's confession before he died, the black fabric matching Seraphine's house colors, the testimony of the captured rogues who all confirm they were hired through her intermediaries. Seraphine is dragged before the council in chains, her perfect composure finally shattered. This is preposterous. I would never. You hired rogues to abduct a child. Theron's voice is deadly calm, which makes it more terrifying. You endangered an innocent to undermine my mate. You put a political vendetta above a child's safety. I was trying to prove she's unfit to be Luna. Seraphine shrieks, her mask completely gone now. An Omega cannot protect this pack. She's weak, useless. She saved that boy twice, Lord Caius interrupts coldly. Once at the altar, once in the forest. Where were you, Lady Seraphine? Hiding behind hired criminals. Seraphine's wild eyes find mine. You've ruined everything. You're nobody, nothing. You don't deserve to stand where I should be standing. I step forward, and the room falls silent. This is my moment. My chance to show who I've become. You're right, I say quietly. I am nobody. I have no noble bloodline, no inherited power, no political connections. I'm an Omega who spent most of her life invisible. Seraphine's sneer returns. But that invisibility taught me to see things others miss. To understand that true strength isn't about domination, it's about protection. You call me weak because I protected a child. I call you weak because you harmed one to satisfy your pride. I move closer, holding her gaze. I may have been born an Omega, but I've earned my place as Luna. Every day, through every lesson, every challenge, every moment where I choose compassion over cruelty. That's something you'll never understand, because you've spent your whole life believing you deserve power simply because of your blood. I turn to address the full council. I know many of you still doubt me. Still think an Omega can't lead. But I'm not asking for your approval anymore. I'm simply going to prove it, through my actions, through my choices, through the kind of Luna I become. You can join me in building a better pack, or you can cling to old prejudices. Either way, I'm not going anywhere. The silence that follows is profound. Then Lord Caius begins to clap. Slowly, other councillors join him, not all, but more than I expected. Theron's pride radiates through the bond like sunshine. Chancellor Aldrich clears his throat. The council finds Lady Seraphine Blackwood guilty of conspiracy, child endangerment, and treason. The sentence is exile and stripping of all titles and lands. It's a harsh sentence, but fair. Seraphine is dragged away screaming threats, but I feel no satisfaction, only relief that this particular threat is ended. After the session, Theron takes my hand. Come with me. There's something I want to show you. He leads me through the castle to a room I've never entered, his private study. The walls are covered in maps and strategy documents, but he takes me to the windows overlooking the territory. Look, he says softly. All of this, every village, every forest, every wolf in our pack, they're all depending on us to lead them well. Not perfectly. Not without mistakes. But with honor and courage. I'm still learning, I admit. We're both still learning. That's the point. He turns me to face him. The 3-month trial period the council demanded? You've passed it. In 6 weeks, you've learned more, grown more, and proven yourself more than anyone imagined possible. There are still counselors who don't accept me. There always will be. But you don't need universal acceptance, Elara. You just need to be true to yourself and your role. His hands frame my face tenderly. You are my Luna. My queen. My mate. And I've waited long enough to make that bond complete. Heat floods through me. You want to. If you're ready. If you choose this freely. I rise on my toes, pressing my lips to his. I choose you, Theron Blackwater. I choose us. Make me yours. Completely. What follows is tender and passionate and perfect, the mating bond locking into place with devastating finality as we claim each other fully. When it's complete, I can feel him in my heart, in my soul, a constant presence that grounds and strengthens me. We lie tangled together afterward, the bond humming contentedly between us. I love you, he murmurs into my hair. My fierce, impossible, perfect mate. I love you too, I whisper back. Even though you've made my life incredibly complicated. His laugh rumbles through his chest. Life with you will never be boring, my queen. Good, I say, meaning it. I think I'm done with invisible and boring. Chapter 7, The Lunar Queen. 3 months later, I stand before the assembled pack for the formal lunar coronation, the ceremony that makes my position official and permanent. The cathedral is packed once again, but this time, there's no chaos. The nobility has largely accepted me, won over by my actions during the crisis with Thomas, my dedication to learning, and my obvious love for their king. I wear a gown of silver and white, my dark hair crowned with a circlet of moonstones. Beside me, Theron looks every inch the proud alpha, his eyes never leaving me. The high priestess speaks the ancient words of binding, not just to Theron, but to the pack itself. Do you, Elara Grey, accept the burden and honor of Luna Queen? Do you swear to protect this pack with your life, to lead with wisdom and compassion, to be the balance to your alpha's strength? I do, I say clearly, my voice carrying through the cathedral. Then by the law of moon and wolf, by blood and bond, I name you Luna Queen of the Blackthorn Pack. May your reign be long and just. She places the Luna's crown on my head, heavier than I expected, but I hold my spine straight, bearing the weight with grace I've learned over months of practice. The pack erupts in howls of approval, genuine this time, celebratory. When the ceremony ends, we process through the city streets so the common wolves can see their new Luna. And what I see in their faces isn't skepticism anymore, it's hope. Because I'm proof that anyone can rise, that rank at birth doesn't determine rank at death, that compassion and courage matter more than bloodlines. At the palace steps, a small figure breaks from the crowd, Thomas Ashford, now 7, running toward me with a bright smile. Luna Elara, he calls, and I kneel to embrace him. Hello, brave heart. Have you been well? Yes. And I drew you a picture. He thrusts a crumpled paper at me, a child's drawing of me and him at the altar, both of us wearing crowns. Tears burn my eyes. It's perfect. Thank you. You're the best Luna ever, he says with absolute certainty. Everyone says so. I glance at Theron, who's watching with unbridled love and pride. Come on, he says, offering his hand. Let's greet our people. Together. We stand on the balcony, waving to the cheering crowds, and I realize something profound. I'm no longer just surviving. I'm thriving. The Omega girl who shielded a crying boy has become a Luna Queen who shields her entire pack. And that's more powerful than any bloodline could ever be. Epilogue, 1 year later. The council chamber has become familiar territory now. My seat beside Theron's no longer feels like an imposter's throne, but like home. I've learned to read the political currents, to navigate the social intricacies, to lead with both heart and head. The pack flourishes under our joint rule. Crime is down. Prosperity is up. And most importantly, the rigid hierarchy that once defined everything has begun to soften. Omegas are no longer relegated to pure servitude. I've established programs for education, for opportunity, for advancement based on merit rather than birth rank. It's slow progress, but it's progress. Luna Queen, Lord Caius says, drawing my attention back to the current discussion. Your proposal for the new trade agreement with the Western Territories is brilliant. I move we accept it. Seconded, says Chancellor Aldrich, who, to everyone's surprise, has become one of my strongest allies once he saw I was serious about learning and leading well. The vote passes unanimously. After the session, Theron takes my hand as we walk back to our private chambers. You were magnificent today, as always. I had good teachers. I lean into him, enjoying the comfortable intimacy we've built. Speaking of which, I have news. He stops walking, turning to face me with sudden intensity. What news? I place his hand on my still flat stomach, watching as realization dawns in his storm-gray eyes. We're going to have a pup, I whisper. In about 6 months. His joy is incandescent, blazing through the mate bond. He lifts me, spinning us both, laughing with pure happiness. A pup. We're going to be parents. An alpha and an omega, I say softly. Our child will prove once and for all that love matters more than rank. Our child, he corrects, setting me down gently and kneeling to press his forehead against my stomach, will be loved beyond measure and raised to lead with both strength and compassion, just like their mother. I thread my fingers through his hair, overwhelmed with love for this man who saw worth in me when no one else did, who gave me the chance to become more than I ever imagined possible. Thank you, I whisper. He looks up, confused. For what? For choosing me that day. For believing in me. For loving me even when I didn't think I deserved it. He rises, cupping my face with infinite tenderness. Elara, you saved me long before I saved you. You taught me that true strength is found in the most unexpected places. That the greatest leaders lead with heart. That love is the most powerful force in the world. He kisses me softly, pouring everything he feels through the bond. When we part, I smile up at him, my mate, my king, my partner in all things. I love you, Theron Blackwater. And I love you, Elara Blackwater. My Luna. My queen. My everything. We stand in the sunset-lit corridor, wrapped in each other's arms, two souls who found each other in the most impossible way and built something beautiful from it. The Omega who shielded a crying boy. The Alpha King who saw her true worth. Together, we've proven that sometimes the greatest love stories begin with a single act of compassion, and that anyone, no matter how low they start, can rise to extraordinary heights. All it takes is courage, love, and the willingness to believe you deserve more than the world tells you you're worth. And so concludes the tale of Elara and Theron, the Omega who became queen, and the Alpha who chose love over tradition. Their story reminds us that true nobility comes not from bloodlines, but from character. That the lowest can rise to the highest when given the chance. And that the most powerful love stories are built on seeing the worth in someone that the rest of the world overlooks. If this tale of courage and compassion has touched your heart, I invite you to return for more stories of fated mates and impossible love, of alphas and omegas, of bonds that defy all expectations. Subscribe and join us for the next journey into the world of wolfkind, where love conquers all and anyone can find their happily ever after. Until we meet again under the moon's gentle light, may you find your own extraordinary destiny, and may you always have the courage to reach for it, no matter what others say you deserve.